The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Those famous words from Franklin D. Roosevelt ring as true today as when he first spoke them during the Great Depression. Fear is an enemy that threatens to hold us back, to keep us paralyzed, and prevent us from reaching our full potential. But I stand before you today to declare that we must kill fear. We cannot let it control our lives or dictate our destinies. Fear is nothing more than a construct of the mind, a figment of our imaginations. It is not real until we give it power over us. The fears we face, whether it's fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, exist only in our thoughts. They are self-imposed prisons that trap us and limit what we can achieve. But you were meant for greater things than to live in fear. You were put on this earth to live lives of passion, purpose, and boundless possibility. The only thing standing in your way is yourselves and the fears you allow to take root in your minds. I'm going to let you in on a secret. That has transformed my life and the lives of millions. Fear is an illusion that can be shattered by taking action. The most successful people in this world are not those who were born fearless. They are the ones who felt the fear and pushed through it regardless. They are the artists who dared to create, the entrepreneurs who took great risks, the leaders who had the courage to challenge the status quo. When we take action, when we move forward boldly despite our fears, something remarkable happens. The fears that once loomed so large begin to shrink and fade away. They lose their power over us. In that moment, we realize our fears were just phantoms, shapeless monsters that could never harm us unless we surrendered our spirit to them. I'm reminded of a young woman named Emily who came to one of my seminars years ago. Emily had dreamed of starting her own business, but her fear of failure was so paralyzing that she could never take the first step. In our session on Slaying Fear, I told Emily something that may surprise you. I urged her to go ahead and fail. I told her that failure is not the monster we make it out to be, but simply a stepping stone to success. You see, the people who enjoy the greatest success are not those who never failed. They're the ones who failed more times than they can count, but kept pushing forward, kept learning from their mistakes until they finally broke through. Failure is simply a lesson to be learned, not a permanent state of being. Emily left the seminar with a newfound resolve. Within a year, her business was launched. Did it succeed on the first try? Of course not. She made mistakes, she faced setbacks, she failed over and over again. But each time she picked herself back up, tweaked her approach, and soldiered on. Today, Emily's business is thriving because she defeated her fear by taking action. That's the simple secret that will set you free. Taking action in spite of your fears. Every time you feel afraid, hesitant, paralyzed, that is your signal to move boldly forward, to charge straight through the defensive lines fear has formed around your mind. When you take action, the fears melt away. When you run from fear, it grows in strength and persists. I want you to call to mind the specific fears holding you back right now. What is that dream you've kept locked away? That desire you've been too afraid to pursue? Whatever it is, realize this truth. The longer you allow that fear to linger, the harder it becomes to move past it. Every day you remain paralyzed is another day your dreams slip further away. So I challenge you today in this room to commit to facing your fears head on, to make today the day you declare your freedom from the mental chains you've allowed to bind you, to make the decision that from this moment forward you will live in a constant state of bravery and forward momentum. It won't be easy, I can promise you that. Our fears have a nasty way of resurfacing, of finding new forms and new excuses to hold us back. But you have to keep taking action regardless. You have to keep putting one foot in front of the other on the path to your goals and dreams. When the fears arise, feel them fully, then charge straight through them like a bowling ball crashing into pins. That is how you kill fear. It's not enough to just overcome it once. You have to keep slaying it day after day, fear after fear, until bravery becomes your predominant state of being. I think back to when I first started out in the world of business and sales. I was crippled by fear of rejection, terrified of putting myself out there only to be turned away. Until one day it hit me that I was allowing the fear of a temporary rejection to rob me of permanent success and freedom. From that day forward, I made a pact with myself that I would charge fearlessly ahead, knowing that every no just brought me one step closer to a yes, until I reached the point where I could hear no 100 times and keep smiling and moving forward. That's what I want for you today. The ability to move so far past your fears that you truly become emboldened, unstoppable, fearless in the face of any obstacle. This takes work, it takes daily practice and commitment. But you can get there, and the rewards are infinite. Imagine waking up each morning brimming with enthusiasm, excited for the day ahead instead of weighed down by fear and anxiety. Imagine striding confidently through your days, never held back by worry or self-doubt, but taking chances and swinging for the fences at every opportunity. Imagine looking back at the end of your life and having zero regrets because you chased after every dream that set your soul on fire. This is the life of bravery and freedom available to every one of you in this room. But you have to be relentless in slaying the fears that would hold you back. You have to be ruthless in dismantling the self-imposed mental prisons that confound you. From this day forward, I want you to adopt a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to fear. Do not negotiate with it. Do not allow it a foothold in your mind. The instant fear arises, walk straight through it. Burn that bridge behind you so you can never retreat back to your former life of playing it safe and small. The path to greatness, the path to realizing your highest human potential, demands bravery and bold, consistent action. There is no other way. So let's make a pact today to revere and pursue bravery the way others worship passive safety. Become affronted at the very thought of allowing fear to dictate your decisions and derail your dreams. And if ever you need inspiration along the way, look to those who exemplify true bravery. Look to the entrepreneurs who risked everything to build business empires from scratch. Look to the artists who bared their souls to the world, expressing their inner truth without restraint. Look to the leaders who had the audacity to challenge injustice and drive humanity forward. These are your role models in slaying fear. These are the ones who lived their highest truths and created extraordinary lives and impacts in the face of resistance and doubt. They did not have some special gene for courage. They simply made a choice each and every day to take action and never let fear stop their forward momentum. That same choice is yours to make today. What will your legacy be? Will you go to your grave with your deepest dreams unfulfilled, having allowed fear to rob you of your birthright as a limitless human being? Or will you rise up, slay your fears, and spend your days in a state of bravery and constant growth? The path is yours to choose, but I promise you, nothing, not wealth, not status, not any material possession, will ever be as precious as the feeling of freedom that comes from slaying your fears and walking the path of your own bravery. To live fearlessly is to truly love. It is to experience human existence at its fullest, juiciest level. So kill your fears once and for all. Be done with them. Let this day be a declaration, the first page of the next incredible chapter of your life. Use your fears not as stop signs, but as flashing signals urging you forward through the resistance. Make bravery your fuel and let it launch you into the stratosphere of greatness you were destined to reach. Do this, and I promise your life will become bolder, more vibrant, more fulfilling than you can possibly imagine. You'll experience levels of personal and professional achievement that seemed laughable when you were trapped in the shackles of your fears. An extraordinary new life awaits you in the realm of courage and forward momentum. The path is open. Fear is merely an illusion to walk through. Let's cross that threshold together, you and I, and leave our legacy in this world as people who attacked life head-on and roared to greatness in spite of any risk or doubt. The greatest enemy you will ever face is not a person, circumstance, or external force. It is the internal enemy of fear itself. Fear is an insidious force that lives within your mind, planting doubts, stoking anxiety, and holding you back from your highest potential. But you have the power to be the slayer of your own fears, to look this enemy straight in the eye and emerge victorious. It takes practice, it takes diligent mental training, but you can rewire your brain to respond to fear, not with paralysis, but with profound bravery. One of the most effective ways to kill fear is to starve it of what it craves most, your belief in its illusions. Fear perpetuates itself by getting you to buy into its deceptions about the risks and worst-case scenarios involved in going after your dreams. It wants you to think that playing it safe is the only sane option, when in reality, the greatest risk is playing so small that you never know what you're truly capable of achieving. So pull back the curtain on fear's tricks. See its shadowy stories for what they are, fiction, not reality. Those worst-case scenarios it loves projecting almost never come to pass. And even if they do, the human spirit is far more resilient than fear gives it credit for. You can survive and thrive through any setback or failure when you have an unshakable belief in yourself. This belief is what will fuel your courage and propel you through fear's flimsy barriers. It's what allowed the great ones, the innovators, visionaries, and trailblazers of this world to persist in creating their dreams despite being told time and again they were delusional. They knew the truth that fear tries to obscure, that you are stronger and more powerful than any doubts, regardless of where they originate. So make a daily practice of starving your fears while nourishing your self-belief, your bravery, your commitment to growth. Read and listen to the stories of heroes who refused to let fear dictate their lives. They will inspire you and show you that you too can walk that path. Visualize yourself succeeding, thriving through any challenges that arise, emerging stronger on the other side of adversity. This mental training is what separates those who live lives of timidity from those who live lives of audacity and greatness. And whenever fear inevitably rears its head, which it will, as it's a part of being human, resist the urge to fight it head on. Counterintuitive as it may sound, fighting fear often gives it more power. Instead, allow the fear to exist. Feel it fully in your body. Then lovingly let it go as you take action on your goals anyway. Energy flows where focus goes. So placing all your focus on the fears often reinforces them unconsciously. The simple act of feeling the fear and keeping your gaze locked on your vision is what will ultimately erode the grip of fear. Because at its core, fear cannot exist in the present moment. It is rooted in the imagined past and projected future that your mind creates. When you bring all of your energy into the now, into the next step forward, fear evaporates. You move purely from a place of courage. This is how you slay the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of taking risks, the fear of leaving your comfort zone, by bringing all of your consciousness into the next courageous action, the next bold step. With each successive action you take, the fears will scream at you less and less until you reach the point where their voices are tiny whispers drowned out by the cheers of your successes. And don't be fooled into thinking that fearless people were simply born that way. Courage is not a gene you're either born with or not. It's a muscle that anyone can build and strengthen over time through daily disciplined practice of facing what scares you bit by bit and expanding your comfort zone. The most successful entrepreneurs were not born braver than you. They're simply people who trained their bravery and mastered slaying their own fears around risk and failure. The great artists were not born more courageous. They simply got skilled at disarming the fears that could prevent them from expressing their truest creative selves. Leaders achieve greatness by repeatedly developing the brave muscle of speaking hard truths and challenging the status quo in the face of fear. You have that same potential within you, an infinite well of courage ready to be unlocked by consistent action, mental training, and the decision to no longer negotiate with your fears. So take stock of your unfeared thing list, the specific phobias, anxieties, and hesitations keeping you trapped. Then commit to chipping away at that list day by day. Maybe it starts with something small, like striking up conversations with strangers if you have social fears, or finally getting started on that side business idea. If the fear of failure has kept you paralyzed, no matter how small the first courageous step, take it and watch how quickly the fears around that thing begin dissipating. Then take another step and another until bravery becomes your default response to any situation that arises in your life and endeavors. The path to a bold, extraordinary life is made up of tiny, incremental, courageous actions that ultimately allow you to cross even the most daunting chasms of fear. Stay committed to that path, and a life of unshackled freedom, passion, and achievement can be yours. The hardest step is always the first one. The first time you look your fears in the eye and charge defiantly forward. But that first step is the launching point for building unstoppable momentum. With each successive win over your fears, your self-belief and courage grows exponentially. What once terrified you becomes a mere speed bump on the highway to your dreams. So start today, not tomorrow, in taking the first steps to dismantle the internal prison of your fears. Dare to be brave in some small way, even if every fiber of your anxiety is screaming at you to play it safe. Let that one brave choice be your declaration of an unbreakable commitment to slaying self-doubt, banishing timidity, and fully unleashing the highest potential version of yourself upon the world. From this point forward, choose to unapologetically stand in your courage, no matter how turbulent the waters get around you. Make this your highest value, to walk the path that aligns with your biggest dreams and boldest truths, regardless of what fears try to block that path. Let those fears shrink smaller and smaller behind you with each brave action you take. They say courage is not the absence of fear, but feeling the fear and charging ahead anyway. Decide today that this will be your credo, to let fear fully exist yet persistently overpower it by marching defiantly forward in the direction of your dreams. Life will become a testament to the ultimate truth. You were never meant to merely exist. You were created for extraordinary feats, audacious adventures, growth, and self-actualization beyond your wildest imaginings. But only the brave and fearless get to experience this rarefied air. Only those willing to continually kill the internal enemies of doubt and timidity get to rise to the full expansion of what it means to be human. So, which path will you take from this day forward? Complacency or courage? Allowing your fears to run the show, or relentlessly slaying those fears? The choice is yours, as it always has been. But I implore you, for the sake of the magnificent life awaiting you, shed your shackles once and for all. Destroy the prison of your fears and set yourself free to soar. One of the biggest myths fear perpetuates is that playing it safe is the route to comfort and security. The truth is, there is nothing safe about living a life shackled by your fears. Ironically, the real risk lies in letting fear run the show and deprive you of ever knowing your fullest power. Think about it. When was the last time you felt truly alive? Odds are it was during a moment when you stepped outside your comfort zone, faced a fear head on, and did something brave and audacious. Those peak experiences of aliveness and joy come from breaking free of your self-imposed limits, not staying stuck in stagnant safety. The human spirit craves growth, expansion, the thrill of new challenges and adventures. Living in fear starves your spirit and breeds emotional atrophy. Is that any way to live this precious one life you've been given? The answer is no. And deep down, you know what? Let's get brutally honest with ourselves. What fears have kept you trapped, prevented you from experiencing more of the aliveness you crave? Is it the fear of failure that stopped you from finally launching that business or creative pursuit? The fear of rejection that's kept you from pursuing the romantic partnership you want? The fear of being judged that shuts you down from expressing all of who you are? Whatever your fears, it's time to get ferociously real about the mediocre, shrunken existence they've allowed you to live. Too harsh. Maybe so. But a life of playing small and safe in the face of fears is a harsh existence in itself. One of regret, unexpressed potential, and a soul-crushing sense of just going through the motions. You were born for more than beige blandness. You were given divine gifts to express and a soul's calling to heed. Yet how can you ever live your fullest destiny when the chains of fear constantly hold you back? It's time to get downright furious about the prison you've allowed fear to create for you. Let that fiery rage at settling for the shackled life be your new fuel for dismantling its walls brick by brick. Use that intensity of emotion as rocket fuel for courageous action. Channel it into facing the fears that have intimidated you for far too long. Because here's the other harsh truth. Your fears can never actually be eliminated or banished altogether. They are wired into the human experience, especially when we step into the arena of growth, creativity, love, or any arena that's meaningful to our souls. Trying to eradicate fears is a futile game of resistance. The only true path is to allow them to exist while persisting to take action aligned with your bravest self anyway. To let the fears flow through you, not avoiding them but not believing in them. To feel the sensations of fears, just temporary experiences, giving them space to be present without using them as a stop sign. This is what the most fearless people do. They don't pretend not to feel fear. They simply don't let it grip or paralyze them. They push forward consistently, even uncomfortably, while feeling the full human experience of fear, self-doubt, anxiety, and letting those emotions pass through. Their courage is a practice, not an inherent trait. That's the distinction that will allow you to slay your fears and reclaim the bold, vibrant life your spirit craves. You learn to make fear your companion by no longer resisting or buying into its deceptions. You keep it alongside you as you doggedly march forward anyway, chipping away at the limits that have caged you through consistent, brave action. Does this mean you'll never feel scared again once you master this approach? Of course not. That would be unrealistic and frankly, kind of boring. Fear is a fundamental part of the tapestry of human emotion and consciousness. To rid yourself of it entirely is to rid yourself of the full range of experiences that make life zesty and stimulating. What it does mean, however, is that you reach a point where fear no longer runs the show, where it loses its power to dictate your actions or keep you trapped in the dugout while others live out their brave callings on the field. You stop accepting fear as a reasonable excuse for playing small. You learn instead to dance with it, to follow its energy and momentum, rather than being dragged under its weight. This is true courage, not eliminating fear altogether, but allowing its existence while calling on your bravery to persistently take action in its presence. To charge courageously at the goals that set your spirit on fire, running parallel with your fears for as long as they choose to accompany you on the path. To live at such a heightened frequency of bravery that fear is rendered an impotent, shrunken shadow trailing behind you. Of course, this level of courage is not developed overnight. It's cultivated through a steadfast commitment to daily practice of feeling your fears as they arise, then acting bravely anyway. Like building any muscle, it requires showing up and doing the inner and outer reps even when you don't feel like it. Those heart-pounding, sweaty palm moments of staring a major fear in the face and leaning into it, that's where your bravery building happens. That first cold call to a prospect, that launching ceremony for your new business, that heart-bearing admission of love to your romantic interest. With each facing of those monumental fear experiences and refusal to back down, your courage gets a little stronger. But just as importantly, the small feats of bravery in daily life also hone the courage muscle. Whether it's raising your hand to ask a question when it scares you a little, or introducing yourself to someone intimidating at a social gathering. Those seemingly trivial fears, you face plant the seeds for boldness to bloom in your biggest, scariest attempts at the life you dream of. The key is stopping your ingrained tendency to avoid, resist, or numb out any situation that awakens the sensation of fear within you. Those fear feelings are like clouds passing through the sky of your consciousness. Don't try to chase them away. Just allow them to drift and morph and dissolve as you keep taking the next courageous action that aligns with your purpose. Give your fears less and less soil in which to take root and grow. Feed and water the flower of your courage instead, through the repetition of brave thoughts, brave words, and brave deeds, no matter how large or small. Be the heroine or hero facing the fears and marching into each new battle. Do this enough times and bravery will replace fear as your default operating system. You'll actually come to crave the feeling of facing scary circumstances because you'll associate it with massive growth, success, freedom, and expansion in your life. Getting goosebumps or a racing heartbeat before a particularly bold move will energize you rather than giving you an excuse to retreat. You'll have crossed a bridge to true fearlessness, that place of reclaiming your power, living authentically in your purpose, and creating the impact you're here to make. A world of possibility and adventure will have opened up to you, one previously closed off by the crippling limits of fear. Never forget that courage is always available to you as your superpower. You were born to lead the heroic life only you can live. So exit the prison of fear that has unnecessarily confined you. Take those fears, strap them to your back like a rocket booster, and let them propel you into the stratosphere of your biggest, bravest life. You've got this. The choice is yours. Live in fear or slay fear and live fully. Make the decision that will make you unstoppable. Kill your fears, take action, and thrive.